Right, so we are all set to actually add the header right now. Everything is set in the index.html, so we can close that. We've set up the styles for light theme, dark theme, the body, so we can also close that. And now we can focus on actually removing all the crap that we don't want from appcomponent.html. So I think the best way to do this is to actually copy everything. We're always going to select everything, not copy, and we're going to deselect the router outlet, and we delete everything. So what we need now is to add the header. We can actually, I think we can add it and extract a component for it. I think it's quite nice to have small components. So we're going to add the header. We're going to actually add all the HTML, and then we can extract the HTML into a component, or we can just create a component straight away. I have decided to create a component for the header, so we're going to use the CLI to generate that. So if you're not comfortable with this, then please look it up, but it's pretty straightforward. We're going to use the CLI to create all the components and services anyway, so you get used to it. Now, just to, again, if this is new to you, all you need to type is ng generate. You could type the whole word out or just use the alias, which is G. We want a component, so we'll say C and the name of the component, and this is the header. You can pass the -d flag, which of course performs a dry run, so you see what the component will look like when it's actually created. And yeah, I think it's good practice. So let's do that to start with. If we then create a component now, it's just going to perform a dry run. It's not actually going to create it, but we'll get an idea of what it will look like. So looking at this, we can see that we're going to get a folder called the header, and then within that folder, we're going to get a header component and all the other files. So it looks like it's going to work, and it's going to update the app module with the component, which is great. So I think that looks about right. So I'm going to remove the -d flag and actually create a component this time. Right, if we look at the app folder, we should be able to see the header folder, and that should have the selector that we need for the header. So again, going back to the app component, we can actually call the header here. What is it? App header. And that's our header component there. And if we look at the results in the browser, you can see that we actually get in the header component is displaying, which is great. So now we need to go into header component and add the stuff that we need. It's looking good. Right, so let me hide the sidebar so we get more room. Right, so what we're going to start with is we're actually going to create a div with a wrapper class. And within this wrapper class, we're going to create another div with a container class. Now that container class is a bootstrap class. So this essentially will contain the h1 and the button, and we can use this wrapper to set the box shadow that you see. Well, you'll see that in a bit. So within this container, we can actually add some more styling to that later. But within this div with the class container, we can add like I showed you earlier, I think I'm going to add an anchor tag, so we can actually click on on that link that will take us back to the home page. That could be because we're going to a router link anyway, so we don't want anything in there. And then we'll have an H1 here. And what does it say? Where in the world? That's what it says. That's what we want in here. And of course, we don't have other links, but of course we can still go back to the home page. So I'm going to add the router link here. Again, I have some snippets which makes it a lot easier. I can share the some of the extensions that I've got with you, but if you have other extensions, then by all means use them. So if I tab here, I should be able to get the router link. Of course, we're not going anywhere, so we'll leave that. Actually, I can leave this. It doesn't really matter. Actually, I'll leave it. It doesn't matter. It's the router link active. We haven't added any classes, so I can just remove that. It's fine. So that's the first thing. Of course, I'm going to remove the color and the text decoration, so it actually looks better. But let's set it up first, and then we can style it. So that's the first pass. Now I need to add a button. Right, so just adding a button here. We're going to use the Bootstrap BTN class, and in this button, I want a span, and the span will have the icon and the text dark mode. So that is essentially what we need here. To get the icon, we're going to have to go to Ionicon's website and get the icon. Right, so here all you need to do is search for the icon that you're looking for, and here we're looking for moon, and we want the outline. You can go for filled or you can go for sharp. I think the outline works fine. Once you click on this, it gives you the component to copy. So the web component code is here, and if you just click on that, it copies the code, which is great. You can of course download it, but we don't need to download it. We just copy the code. Right, so we're back in VS Code. We're going to paste that, and at the end of that, what do we want? We want dark mode, and something is not happy. We need to look at what the issue is, and it looks like yes. Now Ion icon, of course, is a web component, and it's not an Angular component, so we need to add the custom element schema to the schemas array of the ng module. That essentially tells Angular that this is a web component, so just ignore it and allow it to run, essentially. Right, so in the app module, we're going to add the schemas array. And in the schemas array, we're going to we're going to add the custom elements schema. We can import that from Angular core. And it should be happy now because we have actually told Angular to leave it alone. Right, so that is what we're seeing. It doesn't look pretty yet, but at least we've got the parts there that we need. Right, so just to fix the styling here, we're going to wrap this in another div, and we could actually align these, set these to, we could just use the Bootstrap classes here actually. So we could just use flexbox here, and essentially we put a space between the H1 or the anchor tag and the button, and we just align them. We center align them, and that should work fine. So that's essentially what we want. So here we saying that use the essentially that's the Bootstrap class for display flex, justify content between, align item center, and that's what it's done here. Of course, we're going to do some styling to fix this because that's not looking quite right, but this is doing its job. The first part is working fine. Just need to fix the color and then the line there. Now, before we fix the color of the H1 text, we can actually fix the alignment of for the icon here. So we want to center align the items. So we're going to use Bootstrap classes here again, display flex, and then we're saying that it should align them, and that's aligned. But of course, we need to fix the others. If we change again, if you look at it on a larger screen here, it doesn't look as bad. Or we can put a bit of space here. So I think we'll give a margin, tiny bit margin here. So what we could do, here we can come into the iron icon, and we can add a class here, and we'll say margin end, which of course is margin right. We want to add a tiny bit of margin here, so there's some space between the icon and the dark mode text. Yeah, so I think that looks slightly better. We just have to fix this. Right, so we're now looking at styles.css. I'm going to paste in the code for removing the text decoration. We're setting the cursor to pointer, and of course we're setting the color to inherit from the parent element. So whatever the parent element is, the anchor tag will get a color from there. That's what inherit actually means. It gets it from the parent element. And looking at what we've done in the browser, it looks pretty decent, and I'm actually happy with it. Obviously, of course, as you can see here, there's a lot more to do to make it look better. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some padding, margin, and also the box shadow, which should make it look pretty decent. So that's what we're going to do.